כן.
אני רואה.
אני הרבה רציתי, הוא שומע או לא בא. טוב. So we're learning tonight the Teichen Hasicha of Shabbos. זה היה אז Shabbos Rosh Chodesh Elul, Parsha Riyei, Toshin Nun Aleph, and we're learning in the base Knesset, שמתקיימים בעיר הקודש צפת, and tonight is the Kofog, and on Thursday night, ליום שישי Kofog, אנחנו תשע"ז. Just a glass of water.
That's what it takes around here to get a glass of water. It's coming. That's a simple request.
Who's complaining?
So,
man.
So it's our custom in recent weeks to attempt to sum up the whole Sikha in a few words before we begin the that's what I was recommended by a few people. So this Shabbos Parsha Riyei is always either Shabbos Mavorchim or Shabbos Rosh Chodesh. It can be Shabbos Rosh Chodesh Elul, which indicates that there must be some connection between the content of the Parsha Riyei, and the whole union of Elul, based on certain clothing which we'll go into in the Sikha. So the main word that comes out of the whole detailed and quite amazing picture in the Sikha is that Re'ei is Lashon Re'iyah, and Re'ei is also Hashem speaking, Re'ei Onoichi, looking Kaviohu downwards, Melmaila Lamata. But that Mashen Kain, the whole concept of Elul is Dafka Melmata Lamaila. So, you know, how do they come together? Ultimately, the point is that when a mensch fulfills his tachlis in the whole bria, which is to make an effort, no matter la maila, the whole tachlis that against the bria was that a man, and particularly Neshamas Yisrael, the Kavanah man, should make an effort, no matter la maila, that the avodah of Dira P'Tachtoinim should be Davke Alideh, avodas ha'odam ba'atzmai. However, when he does that, or when he makes an effort on his own, no matter l'mayla, then he's zeicher to a tremendous nasinas koyach, from a tremendously high level, which involves the two concepts of re'ei v'anoichi. In other words, he gets a koyach from the Eibishter, how he is anoichi, and he gives it in the form of a re'iyah that he goes out of his normal limitations and he's able to achieve and be shy to inyanim what al derech rogel he's not so shy to that. And that giving of power wakes up in the Odom his inyanim which are also not boyfriend tamidi begoli etzlo, dahainu his yechida shebenefesh, and the etzer benefesh of the Odom is woken up by this given of power on the part of the Eibishter. If he just makes a start, even if he just makes a minimal effort to start off, then he's there to all his nesinas koyach, and that then brings him to a perfection in his whole Aveda, which he hasn't had prior to that. And that's the union of what Elul is always the beginning of a new Ashpah, and it's the beginning of the Chesiva Nechsima Teva, Lashon HaTeva, Avo Aleinu LaTeva. The mensch achieves through the Aveda of Elul and the resultant divine reaction to that, the mensch receives and reaches a level which al pi rogil, he never has that level. All the days of the year, which comes out of his that Elul is a remarkable and unusual time in the sense that it's completely Yetzim and Arogil, both negir to what begins in the Odom. He touches a new, as it were, koyach within himself, and then he gets this nesinas koyach nomaila, which elevates him and brings out that slight effort that he made, brings out what's really behind that, and brings it into a giloi, which means that during Elul, a yid is on a matrega shalei be'erev, what he is during the whole year. In other words, that Elul is another Indian altogether, and therefore we'll see maybe later on by the Fabringen that's brought down from the Frierdiker Rebbe and others that in the Bebeit, Elul was a different time altogether. It was possible, once Elul came, it was possible to feel the incomparable difference of the time of Elul compared to all the days of the year. Parshas Riyei Tomid Bo Yachadim Chodesh Oy Shehi HaShabbos HaMevorechet Chodesh like we have this year, HaShabbos Shelifaneho, Oy Kemoy HaShana, that was in Toshin Nun Aleph, Shabbos Rosh Chodesh. Sometimes it occurs that the 2 days of Rosh Chodesh are Shabbos and Sunday. Rosh Chodesh Elul is the Lamed Menachem Ho, first day of Rosh Chodesh, and the second day of Rosh Chodesh is the first day of Elul. That's often the Kriyas. That's how it was in this particular year that the Sticha was said. However, it's not really of tremendous importance right at this very minute. The point is that Shabbos Parsha Riyei has a very close connection that every year it's either Rosh Chodesh or it's Mavochim Rosh Chodesh. U'l'choira, lo rak she'ein kesher bein Parsha Riyei l'chodesh Elul. If we look at it just surface up, it would appear that not only there's no particular kesher, how do you call it, no special connection between Chodesh Elul and Parsha Riyei, Ela lahepach, even more than that, on the contrary, the kol echad mehem yeshno mashmoes hafucha mechavato. On the contrary, each one has a opposite implication compared to the other. In other words, that the two main central ruchnistic points but in Parsha Riyeh and in Elul seem to be opposite inyanim. So how does that work? How do we come to such a picture that Riyeh and Elul are basically opposite inyanim? So he says, Chodesh Elul madgish davke es avedas ha'odom. We spoke about this last week in the Sikha, Parsha Ekev, and there the Rebbe said that in that regard, El has a strong connection with the Etzem Kavonas HaBriya, that the whole basic purpose of the creation of the Eibusha of the world was that everything should be done l'yedei ha'odam davke. He gave the world b'glal shechofetz chesed hu. At the beginning he created the world, but then the result tells us that immediately after everything is totally everything switches round, and if it's not the Avedas Odom, then all the inyonim are not going to occur, which means that everything, ultimately, the shlemus of the whole creation, Dira B'Taktoinim, is totally in the Odom. So therefore he said the Chodesh Elul is like the central significance of Chodesh Elul is that inyan of Ani Ladoidi, the inyan of Avedas Odom no matter l'mayluto. Lishkarev, the kavanah in that Aveda, Lishkarev el Doidi indicates the inyan of the Ava to a Kodesh Baruch Hu. However, Ani Ladoidi, Veraka Toitzor Mikach, Magia Ezra Elokis. Ani Ladoidi means that I'm making my effort to be Miskarav to the Eibusha, and as a result, and as a follow-up of that, Magia Ezra Elokis Vadoidi Li. Once the Eibusha sees that the man makes that effort, Melamata Lamaila Ani Ladoidi, then he gets the inyan Doidi Li, he gets the divine assistance. In other words, it's Kilo Toli Ho Baho. And therefore, it's interesting that the whole name of Elul and the Rosh Tevas, Ani Ladoidi V'Doidi Li, includes both Ani Ladoidi V'Doidi Li, then you get Elul. What that indicates that what we just see here, the inyan and Elul is a fusion of two inyanim together. It would appear that the Ika is the Ani Ladoidi, that's the Kavanah of the Bria, and then the Doidi Li is a result or a divine help and blessing, which comes as a result of that. For Brochazu, I'm sorry, where are we? Yeah, Ve'ilu Pasha Riyeh. However, the inyan, am I in the right line? Yeah, I am. Ve'ilu Pasha Riyeh, Madgisha Davke Esa Ezra Brocha Elokis. Re'ei Anoichi Neisen Lifnechem Hayom Ye Brocha. Of Amela, the whole inyan from Riyeh is all Melmaila Lamata. Re'ei Ani Nosen, I'm giving you, Ye Melmaila Lamata. So the whole, and the Rebbe is going to now examine each of the words in the first posik. That's well known that the first posik is very generally related to the whole parsha. He's going to show how each of the factors in the posik Reyeh all indicate Ashpor Melmaila Lamata. Ve'ilu, the inyan from Elul tends to indicate the opposite, that the Ika is Melmata Lamaila. And therefore he says that Ve'ilu Pasha Riyeh Madgisha Davke Es Ha'ezer V'Abrocha Elokis Ye Riyeh Anoichi Neisen Lifnechem Hayom Brocha. O Brocha Zu Shenim Shocher B'nei Yisrael Melmaila Lamata Ye Mudgeshes V'Kol Mila Mi'aposik Riyeh Anoichi. If we examine every word in that posik, then we see that that's a giving of power, Dafke Melmaila lamata, and that seems to be a inyan which is absolutely independent of the Avodas Adam. That's what the Pasha appears to be about. So what's that got to do with the Elul? What else seems to be the opposite. So he said, Riyeh, let's take the word Riyeh. And he said, Riyeh mavata, hafnoma amuka, v'gavoya yesa, mashu royim, niklat yesa, mimashu shoymem. It's well known, and there's a whole regus in Medrash Chazal, based on a cloud called Einu Daima Re'ir L'Shmiya. That Re'ir is a much more powerful effect on the Odom than what Shmiya is. And therefore, the Gemara says in Masechet Ksubas that Ein Eid Nasa Dayon. Somebody that he actually saw what happened, he can never be a judge on the Bezdin. Why? Because he saw what happened, and he can never be persuaded otherwise. And the whole way that the Torah was geyser is that they have to hear. They have to hear the Dayanim without having themselves been witnesses to the inyan. And therefore, why is that? So the Gemara says, once you've seen, you can never be convinced otherwise. But Ila, the Inyav, and Shmiya, you have to go according to the details and you have to work it out. In other words, that Riyah has a much more profounder klito, absorption, on the mentioned Shmiya. And therefore, says the Rebbe, since Riyah has a much more powerful inyan and an effect on the mensch, it comes milmaila, and Re'iyah is a nasinas koyav milmaila. So he says, Anoichi mevate madregas elokis atzbias v'gavoya yosa meyasha abitui ani. It's well known the difference in Lashon Kodesh between the word ani and the word anoichi. The word ani means I, but it means I in my modesty, the way I am. When I say anoichi, then I'm trying to express my mila, I'm trying to show that I have an importance. And for example, Yaakov Avinu, when he went into Yitzchak Avinu, and Yitzchak Avinu says, who is this? And he said, anoichi. And so Rashi points out that anoichi is a especially significant word, and it's like a word on its own. It's like cut off from what's been said before. It's its importance. So when you say Anoichi, you're stressing your own, as it were, singular greatness. So when Hashem says Anoichi, he's talking about Mamish Atzmusei, his brother. When he says Ani, it could be that's a lower level in Elikus, which because it has some kesher to the Oilmet. So therefore, since it's written here on Noichi, that indicates Mamish Atzmus Eitzo. Shkekeino Eish Kov, Amitosefes, Bamila Noichi, Mr. Middle says Dargas HaKesar, well known, that Kov is the Rosh Tevas, the word Keser, also Kov is Begematria Esrim, and the word Keser is also Begematria Esrim, and Keser indicates the Oyer Ein Sof, beyond altogether. Noisein. So the word noisein also implies a matona, elokis, anitnes besimcha. The Gemara says that kol hanoisen v'ayin yofi noisen. If you're already giving, then you give in a good way. You give in a lechatchila way. So if we're saying that the word noisein, well, that means that Hashem is giving a matona with the simcha that somebody has when he gives a matona, Tavke. Because if you give something which is due to somebody, then you don't feel especially happy about it, and you don't say, Of a noisan implies the idea of a giving, and a giving is Mamayla Amata. Lifneichem, or the word Lifneichem, Am Shochem Mamayla מטה חוירדס קודם לפנימיוס האדם, ורק אחר כך לחיצוניוסי. Since this whole giving is דווקא לפניכם, and Chassidus explains in many places that the word לפניכם is from Lashon pnimius, of Amela, something which is given milmaila lamata, al-idei madrega gavoya belakus, first of all goes into the pnimius of the mensch, and then it's noticeable, or it has some effect also in the chitzonius, of something which is given milmaila, not something he worked on himself, well that goes first into the pnimius. And then he says, Hayoim misamel v'giloi nitchios elokus. The word Hayom is brought down, Kol HaMekaymus in Chassidus, and the Alter Rebbe brings it down at the beginning of Shara Yivot, that the inyan of Yom indicates Giloi. Yom indicates the idea of Giloi. Giloi is inyan from Mamayla Lamata. Giloi elokus is the idea of Melmaila Lamata, and it's a Giloi Nitchias Elokiyas. It's a divine and everlasting thing which is not affected by any other factors, and therefore it comes in a name from Melmaila Lamata. And then he says, Ubrocha, the word Brocha, Gamkein Misamelas, Amshocha Melmaila Lamata. He said the whole inyan of a brocha is something which comes down milmaila lamata, and it's well known that the word brocha is from the word brecho in Lashon Kodesh, and brecho means to bring down water or any liquid into a pool or into an area, like bringing things down from milmaila, bring water down milmaila lamata, and also. It's brought down in a brisa right at the beginning of the Masechta Bava Basra, that often with a vineyard, with a grapevine, you can take the little twigs at the end of the grain, you can bend them down, and then they also grow, and then the whole grapevine goes further. Well, that's called Mavrich is a given. Mavrich. It's the same root word as brocha, which means that you pull it from above down. Avamela, he said the inyan from brocha also represents a inyan from nasina melmaila lamata. He said, Va'am shocha nailis kolkach she'ina yechoila lihizgalas b'tzura chiyuviyas bo'elam elarach b'tzura shliliyas even Shanira Kamoi Klola Rahmani Natam. Oh, so here the Rebbe says a very important thing. There's a basic question that occurs to the tentative reader, but the word immediately after brocha is not a good word. The word immediately after brocha is the word klola. So if we're saying that this is all things which Hashem is giving Malmaila, and all things which he gives by in Yofi Noisen. And Besimcha, what's the word Klola doing immediately after that? That's a very negative word, which tends to indicate a haper of everything we've said up to now. So therefore, the Rebbe says that really there's no inyan in the Torah of a Klola. That anything which is written in a negative way, which appears to be a klola, is not really the case. Nor, why does it come in that way? Because it's such a high level that it can't reveal itself, lamata, in the usual way. It has to come like in Perek Kavov, the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, that the really highest in Yonim, what they're the inyan from Loisaseh, the mitzvahs Loisaseh, or they come down in a negative form, because they're from a tremendously high madrega, and therefore it's too high for this world to take it. It appears to be something like we can't understand the charifas of it, because it's coming from a very high level. And this is imkena, a klal, and that's what the Alter Rebbe said, that all the, you know the famous story with the Mittler Rebbe, that whenever he was in Lubavitch and he heard the Teichacha, read by the Alter Rebbe, he only heard brachas. And 1 week the Alter Rebbe wasn't there. It was B'diuk Pashak Yitzhove. And they read all the clothes. And the Rebbe fainted. You know the whole story. Yeah? And he was very ill all the way up to Erev Yom Kippur. They thought he wouldn't be able to fast on Yom Kippur. He was so ill. And so they said, what happened? You know, you hear this every year. So he said, but when I hear my Tatan, he said, I hear only brachas, you know, which means that really the Pnimius, and in L'Kutei Torah, the Alter Rebbe goes into this. But I just want to bring out that point. It's a very basic point in Chassidus, but it's a very basic point in the teachings of the Rebbe. That the Rebbe holds that there's no inyan of klola in the whole Torah, chas v'sholom. There's not even a suggestion of it. That sometimes there's a word which humans have made use of in such a way, and they call it something opposite of what they normally appreciate. But that's really just like it's written in Tanya, like I said, it's really such a high level that we're not able to absorb it. And the Rebbe tells here in the Sikha, and then he's got a big long footnote, and I'll just tell you briefly the story, and I'll explain to you. And on that basis, you'll appreciate that there's no real, that word, klola, which follows the word bracha, is really part of what we're saying now. It's really the infinite, everything being given L'maila lamata, in the form of a nesina, and ba'ayin yovi noizim. So the Gemara in Masechta Moed Koton, Daf Tes, tells a story that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, it's written, he had two visitors came to see him. Rabbi Shimon Manasseh Ben Shamshuni, some name like that, and Rabbi Yehuda Ben Gering. Now that presents a very amazing question, because this Rabbi Yehuda Ben Gering, he was at the time that Rashbi had to flee into the Meira, he was the one that informed the Romans. So it's a little bit not clear what's he doing here visiting the Rashbi. It's a bit not. So some people want to say there were two of them. This is the second one. Oh, but there's one Pirush on the side of the Gemara there. What it learns is it's the same one. So that's just by the way. That's very interesting. Anyway, they come and they said to Rashbi a certain pshat. They asked a kasha between two psuchim, and they said a pshat. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was very happy with the pshat. He said that the Torah 7, he was very taken with it. And then after a while, they stayed overnight and then they left in the morning. And they parted from the Rashbi in a very special, the whole story in the Gemara. So it's written that he called his son. Now, normally, Rashbi's son is Rebbe Elazar, that we have over here in Meiron, Rabbi Elazar. Usually in the Gemara, he's called Rabbi Elazar but Reb Shimon, because he's Rabbi Shimon's son. Over here, it's not written that way. It's just written Libre. He called to his son. That's not written in his name. So the whole big inquiry in the Meforshim, is this another son maybe that the Rashbi had that we don't know about? Or maybe it's really Rabbi Elazar but Reb Shimon, but just for brevity, the Gemara calls him his son. It's unusual, yeah. However, he called to his son, and he said, you must run after these two guys, and you should get a blessing from them, because they're very special people. That's what the Rashbi said about these guys. Okay, so Bray, whoever Bray is, he did what his father told him, what he ran after them, and he caught up with them, and they were in the middle of learning together. They were learning, and the Gemara brings down a whole thing, what they were learning and what it's all about, and that's actually Nagir Lamaisa. It's a whole halacha which is brought down. in Shulchan Aruch Afila. But ain't kind of, I don't want to get involved in the whole thing there. Anyway, he heard what they said, and then he said to them, could you please give me a blessing? So it's written, they said to him in the most, they said to him the most frightening things, you know. They said to him that you should sow and you will never bring in, and you'll do this and you'll do that, you'll build a house and the house will collapse on you, and that you know, all sorts of very disarming thing. So yeah, he ran back to his father, and he said, no, he didn't bless me, but they appear to have given me a very, you know, the opposite. So the Rashbi, he said, oh no, you didn't understand. And it's written in the Gemara how Rebbe Shimon, who was Meforish, how all these things meant tremendous blessing. That they said them in such a way that they really meant tremendous blessing. So some of the great Meforshim asked, well, why did they do it that way? So it's like we just learned that they were from such a high level, they wanted to bless him on such a level that it had to come from a very, very high way. It can only come in down in this world in a negative way. So it comes along, I just have to tell you, comes along, the Rebbe brings it down in a footnote. The Marshur says over there, the Marshur says that in Emerson, Rebbe Shimon's son, he wasn't a butler. And he knew right from the beginning that they meant brachas. He didn't think for a moment that they meant anything except brachas. So what was his tzar? It's written that he was mitzayeh. Yeah. So what was his tzar? His tzar was that he couldn't understand which bracha it was. that was his tzar. And so he went to his father, and his father was mefarish for him. And then he had tremendous simcha that he worked out, but he never had any doubt. So the Mashur ends it, writes it, I looked it up in the Mashur. He writes it down with Shomati. The Mashur writes about himself that he heard a pshat from somebody, and he said, I like this pshat. He said, why did they do it that way? Why did they dress it up? Yeah, say lechatchila, nice bracha. So he said that one of the kavanas was that they wanted him to go and ask his father. When you ask the Rashbi, whatever you hear from the Rashbi, this is a bracha. Just by the Rashbi telling them what was the real pshat, he added another bracha, which was the Rashbi. Isn't that amazing? That's mind-boggling. Which means that anything you heard from the Rebbe, yeah, just the fact that you heard it from the Rebbe, that already is a bracha. Just the fact that the Rebbe said it, that's already a bracha in its own right. But plus, there's also what he meant. Aber mehr kommt es that both the Marshur and the Rebbe are telling us that there's no real klolas al pitor, nothing. And even Bray, whoever that is, the son of Rebbe Shimon, he knew right from the beginning, even when he heard, and his tzar wasn't the tzar because he thought they'd cursed him for sure. His tzar was that he couldn't understand it, he couldn't work it out exactly. But what was it? And according to the Marshur, he had to go to his father because that itself is a bracha to hear from him. Yeah, I think it's a very amazing thing. That there's no such thing as a negative thing. Both bracha and klola all include bracha, and on the contrary, but the klola is even higher, yeah, even better. Im kein keitzad ניתן לקשר פרשה שכל כולי המשוכם ומעלה. The whole in kein, that's the first pasuk in the parsha. It's all melmaila lamata. L'chayde shelu shemevate davke ha'eserus melmata. The whole in vanelu is davke ani ladoidi. The man has to start off, and then he gets something. But if he doesn't do, he doesn't get. And here we see that everything is milmaila. The Erev starts off, milmaila. Avamela, the Rebbe is going to say on that a teretz, and then he's going to say what he really holds about it. So he said, ניתן לתאר זה בכך, we could say like this, שחודש שלו מהווה חשבון צדק, לא רק על עבודת האדם מלמטה, אלא אף על עבודתו בגילוי נשמתו. שזו עבודה מלמעלה למטה. So he said, when you make a cheshbon nefesh, you're not only making a cheshbon nefesh, what have I done? What have I done with what I have myself and my own koiches? No, afila, things which are given milmaila, and you know that comes milmaila, but you think to yourself, have I really done with that what I should really be doing? In other words, if I'm given such tremendous hashpur, milmaila, alakhira, I have to do, and I have to achieve something, with that. Alidei, the gila of my neshama. So the Nakuda Zu was Baraba al-Chova B'tzicha Kodemet. The Rebbe spoke about that a lot in Parsha Eiko. He spoke about the two inyanim of Milmata L'mayla and Milmayla L'mata. B'sham huzba gam shayom harishon b'rosh chodesh Elul. If we're taking, like on this year it was, that Parsha Riyeh was Rosh Chodesh, kosher l'chirban ha'nefesh aveda milmayla l'mata. He said, if you take the first day of Rosh Chodesh, that's Shar to all, Menachem all. So he says that the Chodshei HaKayetz up to Elul are all what we call milmayla l'mata. It's one according to the Arizal that the Ikar after Pesach is all milmayla Lamata ad le'elu. Avamela, come to us that the first day of Rosh Chodesh Elul is in still in Menachem. It's Lamed Menachem. But that's still got to do with Milmayla Lamata, except for the 3 weeks. The 3 weeks is a sort of an interruption in the middle to the whole business. However, once you get past Chamishos above, then things really get going, but it's all milmayla, milmayla. V'lochein, hu yetzer b'Shabbos. So therefore, on this particular year, when the Rebbe said the Sikha, it comes out on Shabbos. Lo misaskim kol kach im ha'olam. On Shabbos, you don't have anything to do, only to learn and to daven. Uvameli, you're cut off from minyanei olam, which indicates milmayla lamata. Ella, he said, you're too busy with your koiches of your neshama. Imater v'atfila. V'adov v'choider gam b'mitzvahs achila v'shtiya b'Shabbat. And therefore, the achila v'shtiya is different on Shabbat. It's not an ordinary eating, and it's not an ordinary drinking, because the milmayla lamata and the divine influence that's coming down affects everything on Shabbat, cuts you off. V'lochen ma'atim sheShabbat zu tiyeh Shabbat Parsha Riyeh. And therefore it makes sense why that's Riyeh, because that's got to do still with milmayla lamata, and that's part of the cheshbon. That's one aspect of the cheshbon. Parsha Riyeh, meduba eides aveda milmayla lamata aveda Shabbosiyat. That's a Shabbos type. Whatever you do. The first day after that, which is Sunday, well, that'll already be the Avodah Milmata Maila on the part of the Adam himself, with the Nesinas Kurt that he got from Shabbat. And therefore he'll begin, and he'll have a whole new chayes in Ani Ladoidi that he got from the Doidi Li on Shabbat. And the Rebbe already pointed out over there that that's a little bit, like sort of back to front. But at such a high level that it all links together anyway, because the Olam HaTaklis is the Ani Ladoidi. And then, immediately, you're followed by an even higher Doidi Li. Ulam, says the Rebbe, Atayin Mistava Loima, However, it still makes more sense to say the Parsha Riyeh Kashura Gam Lavedas Hashem Haba Melmata. Since Parsha Riyeh has to do with Elul, then here we've sort of made Parshas Riyeh fit with half of Rosh Chodesh, which is Shaita Melmaila Lamata. So we've put Riyeh into its own, what you might call its own box, in a part of the Cheshbon, which is anyway Melmaila Lamata. However, says the Rebbe, since Sokoso, the whole Ika of Elul is Anila Doide, the Inafim Melmata Lamaila, and after all, Riyeh is connected with Elul, then it's more shy to say that Riyeh is not just part of the picture that's got a shaykhs to one aspect of Shabbos, but we have to say that Riyeh has got a kesher atzmiyas with the whole Inafim Melmata Lamaila. Because we've been making it Melmaila Lamata. He said we have to say that it does, despite the fact, have a kesher with Melmata Lamata. Despite the fact that Ein Hanami, the first day of Rosh Chodesh, has to do with the Chodshei HaKayed, like we said, that was the terms that we answered. However, he said, Ki, because, Allah, he said, Amnam Parsha Riyeh Chola Tomid B'Chodesh Av. It's true that Parsha Riyeh always comes out still in Av. Yeah, and that's got to do with Melmaila Lamata. He said, Aval Tamid Hi Mevareches Es Chodesh Elul. It had he called is always the bracha and the Shabbos Mavochim of Chodesh Elul. Or shehi chelik me Rosh Chodesh Elul. It can come out on Rosh Chodesh Elul. Sheboya Aveda Ikrisu Melmata Lamaila. Since Riyeh is always linked ultimately with the whole of Chodesh Elul, then we have to say that you can't just put it into the department of Melmaila Lamata and make it Shaykh La'ol, but we have to say, even though it's Shaykh La'ol, it comes out in Ol, but we have to say that Be'ika, it's got a kiss with Melmata Lamaila, well, that's the whole basic greatness of Elul. So he says, Gam Chodesh Atzmai. He said, even if we said it comes out in Ol, therefore as a shaykhs to Ol. So he said, even in Chodesh Atzmai, Boy Kudim Tomit Parsha Riyeh, Kosher L'Chodesh Tishrei. And so the Rebbe says, it's well known that Ol has got a shaykhs to Tishrei. So what all of a sudden Tishrei in the middle of Ol? And we have to say, how do you get from Ol to Tishrei? You have to go through Elul in the middle. So if there's something in Ol which has got a shaykhs to Tishrei, it must have a shaykhs to Elul. It must have built in itself inside the cupboard. There has to be a shaykhs to Elul. So how does Ol have to do with Tishrei all of a sudden? So he says, ki hechelm mi-chamish oza b'Ol matchilem liachel ish l'riyeyu chesiva v'chesima toiva. It's well known. It's brought down in the name of the monk Jerome, and I have the sefer where he writes it that it was a minhag vosik in Europe that immediately after Chamish Osa B'Yov, people used to start saying Chesiva v'chesima toiva, not waiting for Elul to come. They used to say straight away after Chamish Osa B'Yov. So that's a sign that Ol must have something to do with Tishrei, because the Chesima v'chesima toiva ultimately occurs in Tishrei, and also Elul. So he said, "V'gam Roshi HaTeva shel HaMazal Aryeh." The mazel of Chodesh Ov is Aryeh. Kiyadua HaMazal shel Chodesh Ov, and the Rosh HaTevas, how do you call it, what's it called, acronym? I've forgotten the word in English. The Rosh HaTevas of Aryeh is Elul, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippurim, Hoshana, Rabbah. So that's all in Yonim from Tishrei. So it's a sign that Chodesh Ov really has a shaykhs to the whole new year. It's not just shaykh to the Kayat. It's already preparing everything, particularly after Chamisha also. It's already preparing everything for the new year. Well, that tends to indicate that it's got to do with Elul. Yeah, not just that it's shaykh to all. Asiyam shel Pashariyeh, Oiseke bedinei Chag HaSukkos. Chag HaSukkos ta'aseh lecho, yeah, v'Sukkos k'may chol chodshei hachoyrim, yeah, shayachas davke l'aveda milmata l'mayla. So what is the shayach between Sukkos and milmata l'mayla? L'chora Sukkos is a makif, it's milmata l'mata. So the Rebbe said that the shleimus of the whole of Sukkos is Shmini Atzeres. And Shmini Atzeres is the last pasuk of the whole part, the last piece of the whole parsha. So he said, well, no, that Shmini Atzeres is already the infant Hakofa, is the infant Simchas Torah, but that's already the, yeah, the other word, Milmata L'mayla, that's already, yeah, showing the tremendous value of everything we've done during Tishrei. And that everything we've done during Tishrei comes together and causes a tremendous Amshocha of Simchas Torah. Is a simon that it's Milmata L'mayla. Of Amela says the Rebbe Im Kain Shuv Nishelas HaSheila Keitzav ניתן L'Kasher Pashariyeh Ima Aveda Milmata L'mayla. How does that happen? We L'chora pointed out that it's not like that. So the Rebbe said, in order to understand this, we have to start that there are two milas in Chodesh Elul, and in the whole concept of Elul, there are two milas, and like we said before, Davki through the two words ani ladoidi and doidi li, or that's how I get Elul. Is a simon that in together with the ani ladoidi, there's also a doidi li, the whole time in Elul. So the Rebbe says that's because yes, sha'avoda amushlemes b'chodesh Elul hu lo milmata l'mayla v'lo lahever. The Rebbe says the ultimate shleimus of Elul, like we're aiming for big time here in Elul, the ultimate perfection of Elul is not milmata l'mayla and not milmayla l'mata, but a union of both of them together. Yeah. Now, how does that work? So the Rebbe says like this, that if I take ani ladoidi, then like we pointed out the whole time, that's the ultimate tachlis of the bria, that the man should do something. So that's a tremendous advantage and a tremendous mile. However, a mensch is mugval. So even when he makes a tremendous effort, how much can he really achieve and reach in the Olamas Elionama? How far can he, in Yiddish Zokman, wie weit kann der reichen? You know, how high can he really reach? It's a tremendous value that he does it with his own koyches, over how much can he really achieve. He's mugbal and he's in Oilam mugbal and he's on the Shoma inside a Gov with the Gansetor. Doidi Li, which is the other part of Elul, or that indicates a hashpoa mil maila lamata. At the Eberster, when he gives bli. Oh, yeah, the Eberster's oitar is bli. The bli will of a male when the Eberster says doidi li, I'm giving you, I'm giving to you down. He gives bli will. As you can, but on the other hand, that has a slight drawback that it wasn't necessarily earned by the man. He can give, like we said, giving. But the whole tachlis is that the man should earn it. So therefore, he says the mile of doidi li is a tremendous mile of bligvo. The mile of anila doidi is a tremendous mile, but it's mokbal. So he said, what is the perfection? What is the shleimas? When the Eberster unites both of them to together. In other words, that you take and make your effort, and then you're zeicher to even higher than what he would normally give mitzad his anoichi, is anoichi misha, anoichi, and you can reach that through a union of the two inyanim. In other words, the two milas come together. And how does that work? The Rebbe says that the mensch elevates himself beyond his normal limitation, and he gets to what's called the Yechida Shebanefesh. He reaches beyond the normal ordinary day Nefesh Ruach Neshama, but he goes up into a level which is already shot to Makivim, and that's what we call Yechida, and that's his reaching even higher. And the Eibishter gives down a koyach from Anoichi, and he unites the two things together. So then what do you get? You get a gilui of Anoichi Mamish into that part of the mensch which can take that gilui. In other words, that the mensch has also gone beyond his normal limitations, and he's come into the Yechida, and his highest point. However, he reaches now the Anoichi, Mish Anoichi, which is uniting the two things together, which means that his whole Aveda is during Elul absolutely Mashu Acher, completely, and absolutely Mashu Acher on the part of the Eibishter. Because instead of the Eibishter just giving, he's giving, but he's giving to a receiver. He's giving to somebody that's made that effort, and he's made it on a much higher madriga. So then the two link together, and you get an absolute shleima, what that's called ani ladoidi v'doidi li. Both of them in the highest way. Ani ladoidi is in the highest way on the part of, he's gone beyond his akbalah. And that's the inner of tshuva. The Rebbe brings down that that's in the ultimate Pnimius, Achsidus, that's the inner of tshuva which is connected with Elul. Not just a tshuva on Averis, but tshuva in a sense that you go up into a level which you're not normally handling on that level, but you demand of yourself, and you go up, and you've got help from heaven coming down, in a very high level, and that unites you with that very high level, and then both of you are in a new, as it were, form. You're in a new situation altogether, and that's the infinite. That's basically what the message is all about. The reason I cut it a little bit short is that I'm first running out of questions. That's the basic message. So, Lafi said, it comes out that Elul, according to what the Rebbe is showing us, Elul is an amazing time. And therefore there's a sikha from the Rebbe, but the Rebbe says that Elul has got a feel of milas, even Legavi Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. There's certain things in Elul that, and that's hindered with the fact that Re'eh is like the Nasina, or Maila, but it's a Nasina in order to bring you to realize that you're going to make an Aliyah Milmata Lamaila, and then the Nasina Milmaila becomes even higher and unites and brings to a whole new state. And therefore there's a sikha, I think it was in the late Mems or the early Nuns, where the Rebbe says that Elul is mamish gila ha'atzmas, and it's got a mile even legabe Rosh Hashanah, even legabe Yom Kippur and all that, because in Elul you sort of meet up with Re'eh, with Bracha, with all those inyanim, every day that you make your Eved, Melmata Lamaila, and that reaches a Tainun, Melmaila, and a Shleima that's not there any other time of the year. And that's why it is that the meaning is the whole month to say to somebody, Meaning that right from the moment, and according to that meaning, even after Chamishos Ba'or, you, to a certain extent, you've already made it. If you make that evident and you live that way, as pointed out here on the thing, you've already got there. You've already got the whole Ksiva, Maxima Teva is already there. The whole inner, the Tkiyas and everything on Rosh Hashanah is only to bring it down, Begoli. You might say to put it in the bank. It's already there. The check is already there. It's just a question of getting it into the bank. And it's just mind-boggling, the complexity of these sikhs is immense. But basically, they get down to a very few simple points. One is that there's no such thing as negativity. And the second thing is that the Abishta gives tremendous things more mild, but he waits for you, and ultimately speaking, you've got to make your effort, and he is giving you all the powers with which to do that, but he's waiting for you to make your effort, and then it's going to be a fusion of good and powerful inyonim in a way that it's just going to be, I was going to say, so, Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem.
Are we into the Fabringen, Pat?
How are you doing? How you doing with Paul Lynn?
Paul Lynn?
Yeah, Paul Lynn.
I'm doing with Miriam,
Take off.
my granddaughter Sadat.
Oh, you have a
This morning.
Wonderful.
Yes.
In
Wonderful.
other words, for the married couple, you already have a Einik.
Thank God.
Oh, he's a Zayda,
Yeah. Baruch Hashem. Oh.
Today's a Yom Yom.
He's a new
Did I
Zayda.
see today's Hayom Yom? Today's Hayom Yom
Yeah.
is about a daughter.
Oh, yeah. On a bus, you also say, Tero Chubal Amazing thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I say you Mechavan.
Hashgacha Pratis.
Anyway, that's a picture, guys, of a Fizeh. Follows that Elo Ein Kamoyo. That's the Taklis Hashloim.
He must have done some good Ani Ladodi. Moshe must have done some good Ani Ladodi. He got the Dodi Lee.
Baruch Hashem, he's got Ani Ladaydi and he's got the Daydi Lee, all fused together. Baruch Hashem. You came especially because, or you came a bit earlier because of the birth, or?
No, I came when I was, according to my ticket. My ticket, there was a 21 days. That's what they called me for, and that's what.
Just in time.
And that's what. And Hashgacha Pratis.
Wow.
Thank God. Yeah. Actually. And yeah.
Miriam's a name though.
Miriam, yeah. They named, here, I show you the name. I don't want to be too and there's a wedding up top here now. It was just a wedding.
I saw the
between all.
when I was coming down.
Yeah, it took me 40 minutes to get here. Asi from the Kehila. Asi, yeah. His daughter. Somewhere I have here. The naming. Amen. Here.
Somebody making a Mishabel?
In 770.
Oh, that's where they are?
No, they're here in Tzfat.
Oh.
They named the baby. They named the baby in 770.
Yeah, who? This is your daughter that married. This is your daughter.
Right. Rachel Bat Kana and Miriam Bat Schneer. They gave the name in 770.
I see. They're living in Tzfat. Yeah, I see your son-in-law.
Shkoch. And and
so have you seen?
I was watching you on the way over. I was watching you talking about Bracha and Klala and the Midler Rebbe and the famous story.
There's nothing negative in it. On the contrary, there's a whole sikha from the Rebbe where it's written in the Targum Yonason. It's written Hinei Oneinu Yisem Lefnechem Hayom Brocha. So the Targum Yonason writes Brocha v'chilufei, and like it's the opposite of the swap. He doesn't say the word clover. In the Targum Onkelos, he writes bracha v'lotin. Lotin in Aramaic means a curse. Over the Targum Yonason, he doesn't use the word curse. He just v'chilufei, like the opposite, or the other side. So the Rebbe said, why does he do that? Why don't he call a spade a spade? Why does he sort of put in a word like that? So the Rebbe said that in Elokuz, you can't really change it. The Eibusha is just so perfect and everything. Whatever he is, you understand? So the word chiluf here doesn't mean the opposite. It just means another level. You just swap that level for another level. You got that? And the word chiluf can mean like a swap. Instead of this. So what it means is that according to the Targum Yonason, that bracha is a bracha which is shot to call it bracha, and the klala is such a high level that it's just another level of bracha on a higher level. You follow? So the fizeh, it comes to us that there's no such thing as a klala.
But we're only people. We're not angels, though.
Yeah. And that's what these two Talmudim at the Rashbi, well, that's what they taught. If it's Rabbi Elazar, that's what they taught. That it's just like swapping from one level to another. But it's not and according to the Mashur, he realized that Malachatchila. He said that by the Chachomim, it was a door of Bora, that there's no negativity.
Right.
How does that fit in with the reward and punishment system then? How does that fit in with reward and punishment and being accountable for behavior?
Yeah. So here we're talking about what the Eibishter gives. And so what we're saying is that in what the Eibishter gives and everything that comes from Omaila, there's no negative. It's brought down and considers that the negative things that happen by way of punishment, chas v'shalom, are really caused by the Odom himself.
Yeah.
He actually is mo'er certain things, but they come in a way to be mataken him. and not the kavanah to just retribute from him or to cause him pain. But they come in such a way as to be talking what he anyway caused.
Okay.
Of a mamish mea kodesh baruch ein the pillar.
But one could get very excited by hearing that first part, hearing that there's nothing negative. Oh, okay, I'm off, I'm free, nothing negative ever. But of course, you got to be accountable. Still, you're saying you still have to be accountable for your behavior.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And then you
what you're accountable for is what you do yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
You follow?
Well, okay, that's
and that's why is it the great people like Reb Zusha and certain of those great people said, Baruch Hashem, I never had nothing, you know, I know only good. How could they, you know, like you're saying, there's negative things that happen. But they were convinced that if there's anything negative, it's from them.
Yeah.
And therefore they worked on themselves in such a way that they didn't have any negativity. If they didn't have any negativity, then there's no negative. You follow? It's an amazing idea. And therefore Reb Zusha said, he said, I don't know, I have, you know, bad? He said, I never had any bad, I had only a good life. Philip life. And I'll tell you a story. I once had an amazing experience many, many years ago in Bnei Brak. All of a sudden, there showed up a Yid from Russia, and he was a very old man. He was well into his late 80s. And he still had a beard. No, he was, Baruch Hashem, you know, he was holding firm. And he was already an old man. He'd lost his wife, and he was living, you know, in a little apartment in Bnei Brak. And gradually we found out about him, and he had a lot to say. And he'd seen Lubavitch. He wasn't Mamish Lubavitch, but he was very close. And he had known the Rogachover. He'd actually seen the Rogachover. He'd actually spoken with him and seen him walking on the street. And he told us all these amazing stories about how he'd seen the Rogachover and how the Rogachover's face. He had this big, you know, shock of white hair, you know, the Rogachover, that long white hair. And he said, when you saw it on the street, it looked like a Malach Elokim. So I happened to go in to visit him. I'd heard that he wasn't well, so I went in to visit him. And it was amazing. He spoke to me very frankly, you know, and I was just completely, you know, taken aback. He said to me, listen, he said, I don't think I have very long now. I've only got a few days or whatever. That's what he said to me. And that's what happened. A few days later, he passed away. Yeah. He said to me, but I want you to know one thing. He said, I've had a very good life. He said, Hashem has blessed me. He said, I've had a most wonderful life in this world. And he said, I can go, you know, comfortably into whatever's waiting. That's what he said. He said, because I don't have any chas v'sholem, I don't have any negative things to mention. Yeah, so I found out later that he'd been through who knows what in Russia. And that's the koyach of a neshama. And that's what we learn in the Sikha, that the Rebbe says this all comes back to the neshama ultimately. Since you have a neshama, then you can demand of yourself to go up into a madrega where you'll meet the challenge of an iladoidi in a way that you've gone out of your hakbolas, and then you'll bring the bli hakbolas of Hashem downward. And that's Inif and Tshuva. That's what all the Svarim say all the years, the din of Tshuva connected with Elam. And so I was mamish, you know, tremendously moved. But he was laying there on the bed, and he said to me, he said, Baruch Hashem, I've had a very good life. He said, I've had only good things. And he said, not only I don't have any complaints, chas v'sholem, he said, I've only praises to Hashem for everything He's given me. And he wasn't just lecturing to me or trying to make an impressive statement. He meant it, you could see what he was talking. And then, to my great sorrow, about 3-4 days after, my neighbor told me that he passed away. Yeah. So that's the secret of it, and that's an akuda. To know that everything is only good. There's no flaw. If things get out of gear, that's your problem. You understand? You how do you call it, the old saying in the old English, you botched it. You got it wrong. Just get it right and you'll see that.
We would assume that if he didn't do anything wrong, Hashem is going to be good to you.
Right.
We would assume that. Why would we assume that something bad or curse would come if you were clean? If you were clean,
we're given a certain choice, and we also that the Gemara says that ain't odom nitvas b'shas tzara. When a mensch is really b'tzar, then on heaven they're not medactic after him. You know what I mean? The Gemara says in Rosh Hashanah, ain't odom nitvas b'shas tzara. But when they realize that olam hazeh is not an easy kettle of fish, and that every now and then you have sort of weak moments. You know? The question is, the trick is to make the strong moments more than the weak ones, to the point that they take over and they sort of run the show. And that was Rebbe's issue. He'd taken over completely, and only the good ran the show. He didn't have any negative moment. That's a pshat. And it's an amazing thing. When you think about it, it's just absolutely mind-boggling. And that's what, if you're looking at footnote in the Sikha, that it brings down that whole story about the son of Rabbi Shimon, hearing from these two. It's a whole big, long discussion. But the Rebbe points out that whole idea. And he said the chiddush was that whoever the son was, Rabbi Loza, or maybe had another son, they knew that he didn't have any worry that they said what looked like a negative thing. There's no negative, but they meant only good. He was just upset that he couldn't figure out exactly the details. It's an amazing shot. I do it in such a way that he'll be able to figure it out after a while. No, they wanted that he should go to his father, but just talking to Reb Shimon is a problem. Philip. And therefore there's a Polish word from now, from the Swasemas, I think it is, that by the Bnei Gad and the Bnei Reuven, at the beginning, when they said they want to stay, and Moshe Rabbeinu got very upset, and there's a whole big thing that Moshe Rabbeinu said to them, but they didn't really hold that. I mean, they were ready to go, you know. They didn't really hold by not doing their part, you know. But nonetheless, Moshe said, this is going to cause the same problem as the Meraglim, and how come you did this? So, the Sfasema said, why didn't they interrupt Moshe Rabbeinu? They should have said, wait a minute, Moshe Rabbeinu, we don't mean that, we're fine, you know, whatever you will say, we'll do, and we're ready, and that's what we meant. Because once Moshe Rabbeinu is talking, that itself is a blessing, you don't interrupt. He's saying things that, you know, you would want to correct maybe, that's what's your problem. Oh, well, that's Moshe Rabbeinu speaking. And when Moshe Rabbeinu is speaking, it's only a blessing, and you don't interrupt him. that's why they didn't defend themselves. Often the Hiddush Harim, or often the Sfasema. I did it, don't be, if I had a bit of cook, I would sing an English.
I did it. Like you said about Tisha B'Av, we know that Tisha B'Av is a good day because the 15th of Av comes out of Tisha B'Av.
That's right.
And so nothing, if Tisha B'Av has to be good because nothing bad, something good can't come out of something bad.
That's what we learned in the Siyum and the Rebbe said that the good things of Tisha B'Av, they are eternal, they don't alter, they're always there. And on the contrary, Shabbos brings them out.
And I remember Rabbi Gordon told me, he said, one time he had a finger, his finger was like this, was bent like this, he couldn't straighten it. He went to an orthopedic man, and they were going to operation. He said, no problem, it's a outpatient, it's during the 3 weeks, and afterwards he said, he didn't write the Rebbe, he didn't consult with the Rebbe. So then he consulted with the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said, you know, like he admonished him, the Rebbe admonished him for doing such a thing, you know, during the 3 weeks. And so he was like between like a rock and a hard place, you know, because these doctors are like Elokim Acharim, and he didn't want to, but he got up the courage to cancel the appointment. The next morning he woke up, his finger was...
Very nice. When I first came to Chabad in Toshin Kopez, I met up with the Rav Avram Yitzchak Glasman. He was then the deputy Rav. He was like this guy. If the Rav Schneer wasn't available, he wasn't around, he was like the Rav, he would pass him. And he had learned in Lubavitch, and he told me the whole story, how he got the smicha, and a whole long story. And he had, I noticed it when I was sitting at the table, he had 2 fingers which were like also, they were twisted. So I didn't look at it, you know. I just happened to know. I'm an observant person, so I noticed. You know. So while we were sort of taking, we had a bit of mazenas, a cup of tea, you know. So he noticed that I'd noticed, you know. So he said, you know how that happened. So I said, no, you know. So he said that on Simchas Torah, the Rebbe Rashab used to line up all the Bochrim that had to go to the Giyos. In those days there was an obligatory, and he would tell each one what is going to happen with him. And he would tell them what to do to get out of it. And there was some that he told them that they're going to have to go, but Hashem all sorts of amazing, it was Nebuahs, Mamish Nebuahs. So there was a thing that he had, the Rebbe Rashab, which was called Machahantale, make a hand. What does it mean, make a hand? There was a guy in Lubavitch that he would take a person's fingers and he would, he would maim them, he would put them out of shape. And once the army saw that they wouldn't take it, but he promised that in about a year and a half, maximum 2 years, it would go back, it would straighten back. Yeah. So he said, when I came up to the river in Simchas Torah in some Ches or some Tes, I've forgotten what year, he said the Rebbe looked at him and the Rebbe said, do Machahantale, you have to make a hand. So we went to this guy and he did what he did, and he said in about a year and a half, based on it, it'll grow back. He said, by me it didn't grow back. He said, I got out of the army, he said, well, he said, by me his promise didn't work, it didn't grow back. So he said, I have a fixing in my body of a promise from the Rebbe Rashab. So he said, I took it up. So the Rebbetzin came in, she put some more things on the table. So all of a sudden he looked up at me and he said, oh, but to the shidduch it didn't damage me. He said, it didn't damage my chances of a shidduch. He sort of took a look at his wife and she sort of looked aside very embarrassed. She gave a little smile. He said, some shidduch hat das nicht geschafft. In Yiddish that means it didn't damage this. But his hand was sort of misformed. Yeah. That was just a few days after I came to it, so I went in to see him. Yeah, he was a mechutn, or a cousin of my mashpia. They were related, and so he told me I must come in and give him a greeting. Apart from that, he told me some amazing stories, but I just haven't got the courage now to tell what the story. But that one, since you mentioned about a crooked finger. So listen, guys, we see from the whole Sikha, the whole thing is that Elul is a very special time. That's what it comes out. It's not. And so therefore, I remember I once heard from Reb Nochum an amazing story. I heard from him another amazing thing, but I just haven't got the courage to tell both of them. But Reb Nochum said that once in Lubavitch there was a very powerful Gabbai. Used to do all sorts of powerful things. So one day on Rosh Chodesh, just before people finishing davening, leaving the shul, he goes up to the bima and he gives a tremendous thwack on the bima, and everybody said, everybody's taken. So he starts shouting in Yiddish, and he says, Juden, he said, Heint is nicht Sonntag. He said, today is not Sunday. So everybody thought for a minute, and they said, I didn't know it, today is not Sunday. And then he says, on Heint is nicht Montag. He said, today is not Monday. So everybody thought, and they said, today's not Monday. And then he goes through all the days of the week, and he's already gone past the day that it was. And he said, Apple became, He said, today's not mitzvah, it was. He said, Heint ish ka mitzvah. He said, it's not a Wednesday. So everybody said, what's this guy up to? So all of a sudden he paused and he got all his listeners. He was, a rhetoric, all of his listeners are paying attention to him. And he says, Heint ish montig nish zuntig nish. He said, Heint is a filler nish Shabbat. He said, Heint is Elul. He said, Elul is another time. It's another time. And from the Sikha we learned tonight, you see, it's not Milmata or Mile, it's not Milmata or Milmata, it's like a fusion at a tremendous high, Nasina Miatmas, and the mentions in a whole new shape and a whole new this and that reminds me of that story that he had all his listeners, and he said, what is Heint? He said, Heint is Elul. Yeah. It's another time altogether.
Chaim, Aksivu Simatoiba, good Gebench Dior,
So, then you remember the story I told you last year that I heard from the old Rav, Reb Motley Perlova, the Shmuz, the Zipurim there, the Chaim Motley Perlova, he was the Rav in Melbourne. He told Moshe Berel about a ship that had all these people were traveling on a journey. It was a long journey, and they got tired, and they wanted a bit of a sort of a break from the long journey. So he found a beautiful island in the middle of some ocean. Captain of the ship. So he took the ship to this beautiful island, and he looked through his binoculars, and saw beautiful, beautiful fruits and trees, and, rivers and waterfalls and all sorts of good stuff. So he saw this, and he goes over, parks the ship outside there, and he said, listen, you guys, you can leave the ship and you can go up onto the island and enjoy yourselves, have a good time. But he said, you listen to the foghorn of my ship. And he played the foghorn, He said, when you hear that, that's a sign that we're going back on our journey. So they all said, okay, fine. And they all got off the boat and they were just absolutely fascinated. How they could Google Earth with this, beautiful island. They all went out and they all began each one in his own ocean. They were all taking tremendous anoa from the island. And it just, got in, everybody's getting on. They forgot all about the journey and forgot everything. The whole touches of the journey, they forgot. All of a sudden the captain blows the foghorn, and all of a sudden, in the middle of all this forgetfulness, all of a sudden they hear, ooh, this tremendous. What's this who? Then all of a sudden they hear it again, ooh. So all of a sudden, one of the leaders of the whole lot, he said, hey, that's coming to remind us that we got a journey. We're not just playing around here. We have a journey and we got a aim, a target. They were going on a journey with a purpose. We've got to get back on the ship and we've got to get moving. So he said that he said that's Parshas, that's Shabbos Rosh or Shabbos Milwaukee Metal. All of a sudden you hear and you realize that you're a bit too much involved in this whole island around here, and that you're not really remembering what you're really doing here. And all of a sudden that reminds you. And who is the captain of the ship? The captain of the ship is the river. He's the one that flows there. that I heard from Reb Perlo. Chaim.
מתי אמרת לנהג להגיע?
אני אמרתי לו ברבה 10. יצא לי כבר...
כאן למעלה?
כן, נשקום את זה.
יש עוד 5.
חיים.
I
אני
live
אומר
right.
להקסיב ונשים את תאו, שון את תאו, מסוכר, ונשנס הגיעו לפשטס, always together with the Rebbe.
Amazing.
חיים. כל טוב, גוטן שבס.
חיים.